I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC Fight Night Ortega versus Zombie. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is I can't say his last name, versus Said Nurmagomedov. To me, I think these guys are both pretty much just strikers. I think Mark's probably a little bit more well-rounded with the grappling, but I just think Said's better everywhere. I don't think Said's going to get taken down and held down. And I think on the feet, he's just, like I said, a much better striker. I don't know if Said finishes Mark, but I think he wins a pretty dominant 30-27 decision. Next is Gazarmad, can't say his last name, versus Maxine Grisham. And to me, I think other than the first round, Maxine wins this fight all day. I think he's the much better striker overall. I think Gazarmad's just a grappler. I think Maxine's a good enough grappler to either defend the takedowns or survive on the ground for the first round. I think Gazarmad slows down really hard after the first. And like I said, other than him getting caught in a choke, I think Maxine, if he can keep it on the feet or just survive the first 5 minutes, he'll get a finish probably in the second or third round. So I got Maxine winning by knockout or TKO in rounds 2 or 3. Next is Jamie Malarkey versus Faris Ziam, and to me, both these guys are pretty well rounded. I'd say it's overall pretty close, but I'm leaning towards Jamie. I just think that I was really impressed with his fight with Brad Rendell. It was a really back and forth, amazing fight, and he lost, but I mean, that was probably the toughest fight Brad Rendell's had in the UFC, and I just feel like Jamie was just fighting a guy who was a really great striker. And this fight, he's fighting a guy who's a good striker. And I think Jamie, won't be fighting someone who's such a strong wrestler that he'll be able to pace himself better. And he'll probably get a finish sooner or later. Because, like I said, they're both striker jiu-jitsu dudes. I just think Jamie's a little bit better at both. So I'm picking Jamie to either win by decision or like a late third round finish. Next is John Phillips versus Jun Young Park. And to me, this is basically just every John Phillips fight. He's a good brawler, and he's fighting someone who's well-rounded. I'd say in terms of overall striking, John's a little bit better, but Jun Young Park has good judo and good submissions. He's got like 3 or 4 wins by sub. They're all chokes, but he's got that like judo wrestling style where I feel like as soon as he takes John to the ground, it's probably going to be the end. I mean, so far in the UFC, almost any time John gets taken to the ground, he doesn't sort of do very well. And I think that's what's going to happen in this fight. I think as long as Park is smart and takes this to the ground when he needs to, he'll probably win by sub with like an arm triangle or a naked choke. So I got Jin Young Park winning by sub in either the first or second round. Next is Gillian Robertson versus Poliana Botelho. And to me, this is straight up striker versus grappler, and it's 100% just who keeps it where. Gillian is obviously the great grappler, and Poliana's the great striker, and it's like I said, it's whoever can keep it where. It's gonna be one of those fights where it's like the first couple of takedowns are gonna show this whole fight, and I'm leaning towards Gillian. I think that she is a good enough wrestler to get this to the ground, and I feel like if she is able to get Poliana to the ground, she's gonna dominate. Like I said though, if Poliana can stuff those takedowns, it's gonna be the opposite. You're gonna see Gillian wilt pretty quick and get finished. Gillian doesn't do well when she can't force fights to the ground, but I do think Gillian will. And I think her wrestling's been getting a lot better, and I think we're going to see in this fight, she's going to take it to the ground, and when she's on top, it's going to be, she's going to beat her up until she wins by sub, probably in the first round. Next is Gazarmat, I can't say his first name, but it's Gamrot something versus Gurman. I can't say his last name. And to me, these guys are both really well-rounded. Gamrot is from Poland, and he's 17-0, and Guram is from England, and he's like 12-2. They're both really, really good up-and-comers, and to me, it's really tough to pick for this one, just because I've seen them both fight, and I think they're both really high level. I'm just leaning towards Gamrot. I just think his game's a little bit more well-rounded. It's hard to really talk about this fight because I haven't seen a ton on either of these guys. I think, Gumran, the guy from England, is from, he's a good striker with a solid takedown defense, but I just feel like Gamrot is really good at mixing striking with grappling, and I think he's going to be able to, mix it up and win by decision. So I'm picking Gamrot, the guy from Poland, to win by decision. On the main card, the first fight is Thomas Almeida versus Jonathan Martinez, and to me, this fight's, really tough just because I think they're both really, really good strikers. I don't think either of them's amazing offensive wrestlers, and I think they both have solid takedown defense, so it's probably not going to hit the ground. It's really just kind of who can land that first big shot. I think Jonathan Martinez is a little bit better with his foot movement, but I think Thomas Almeida is a little bit better of a striker overall. you know, it's tough because they've both been dropped before and like knocked out by guys who aren't the greatest strikers. So to me, it's just kind of who's having the better night. And I'm leaning slightly towards Thomas Almeida. I think he's just the younger guy, so the guy who's more likely to have made improvements is him, because they've both had about a year layoff. And I'm just leaning towards the younger fighter. I think that if anyone's making improvements, it's someone who's, he was only like 20 when in his UFC debut. So I'm picking Almeida. I think he's going to win by knockout or TKO in the first or second round. Although, like I said, I think this is one of the closest fights on the whole card because they're both just going to be slugging it out. But I'm slightly leaning towards Almeida. Next is Claudio Silva versus James Krause. And to me, I feel like other than Jiu-Jitsu, Krause is way better everywhere. I think Krause is the overall better wrestler. I think he's the significantly better striker. I think Claudio Silva, on the ground, he definitely has the advantage, but I think James Krause is a really good jiu-jitsu guy in his own right. I don't think he's just going to get instantly subbed if it's on the ground. I also think James is the overall bigger and taller guy. And like I said, I think as long as James can kind of keep it on the feet, he's going to have a huge advantage. I think his striking is just way better. And once again, really the only way Claudio wins this fight is by sub, and it's not even guaranteed that he can get that because James is a high-level black belt in his own right. I think this fight's going to be kind of like the fight between the younger Gilbert brother when he fought Daniel Pineda. I think we're just going to see these big shots land on the feet, and then James being able to get on top on the ground, and then his ground and pound is going to be a big thing too. And I just see James just outbeating this guy with his strikes and eventually getting by a knockout or TKO in like the late second, early third. Like I said, I just think he has a massive advantage in the striking, and it's not that it's really close on the ground. It's not close at all on the feet. So I'm picking James Krause to win by knockout or TKO. Next is Jimmy Crute versus I can't say this dude's name. Modestar. I can't say his name. But I just think Jimmy Crute's going to win this fight. I was not impressed with that other guy in his UFC debut. He looked like an okay striker, but I feel like if he fought a competent wrestler, that guy would probably be able to take him to the ground, and Jimmy Crute is that. I think Jimmy Crute is a competent wrestler with really good submissions, and I think Jimmy Crute likes to fight fast. I think he's going to fight the way he always does. I think he's going to be striking for a tiny bit. He's going to go for a takedown, and once he's on the ground, I think Jimmy Crute's way better. Jimmy Crute's a high-level black belt. And we've seen when he gets fights to the ground, he's really offensive with his jiu-jitsu, and he can hit subs really good. And I feel like that's what we're going to see. I think Jimmy Crute, like I said, first round sub most likely. Like I said, I can't say the other guy's name, which is why I'm not talking about too much. But yeah, I just think, like I said, first round sub for Jimmy. Next is Kathleen Kukagin versus Jessica Andrade, and I wish this was 5 rounds, this fight, like on another card, because I feel like Jessica Andrade's style works so much better for 5-round fights. Her style is just keep pressuring people until they basically gas and borderline give up, and she just beats the shit out of them. Like her last fight with Rose is exactly what I thought it was going to be. I thought Rose was going to do good early, and then Jessica was going to do good late. And we saw Rose was starting to slow down real hard, and Jessica was starting to really kick the crap out of her. And to me, it was really pissing me off because it was like, people thought Rose was just 10 times better than Jessica, and I was like, if there was 2 more rounds, that would have been it. Like, she would have finished her in the 4th or the 5th. And, I feel like that might happen in this fight. I think that because it's only 3 rounds, it does favor Kathleen. This is one of those fights, just like when Jeremy Stevens fought Yair, where it's like, the better fighter, in my opinion, is Jessica Andrade for 5 rounds, but the better fighter for 3 is definitely Kathleen. I mean, she can do that thing where she just runs away and throws teep kicks and jabs easily. And I think it would take Jessica more than 3 rounds to beat her up. I really want Jessica to win. I think she can. I think she's, like I said, the better fighter overall. I think she hits harder and is the better grappler. But I just think that in terms of a 3-round fight, it won't be that hard for Kathleen to just run away and throw jabs and teeps and stuff like that. So, my official pick is Kathleen. Who I want is Jessica. I hope Jessica is able to pressure and beat her up and win by knockout TKO. I just don't see it in a 3-round fight. So I'm going to pick Kathleen to win by decision. And yeah, like I said, I want Jessica to win though. On to the main event, we got Brian Ortega versus Chan Sung Jung. And to me, these guys are basically the same. They're both striker jiu-jitsu dudes, but I think the biggest thing is Chan Sung Jung has really solid takedown defense. And Brian Ortega is not a good offensive grappler. I mean, in terms of his wrestling, not in terms of submissions. I just meant not a good wrestler. I think that if this fight ever hits the ground, it's because Jung takes it there. And I think one of the biggest thing is, I think Jung's striking has been looking super amazing recently. He's been like one-shotting dudes. So, he's also been fighting more regularly. Brian Ortega hasn't fought since the, fight with, Max Holloway. And, I know that's not entirely his fault. Like, he's gotten injured a few times and his opponents have gotten injured a few times too. But I do think overall Jung has just been more active, and in terms of their overall striking, I would say, Ortega's not a bad striker, but Jung, just the way he's been dusting people recently, I feel like he's got the advantage. And like I said, Ortega's offensive wrestling is not impressive. I think his jiu-jitsu is super impressive, but this is another one of those fights where it's like, just like the Kraus one, I don't think Ortega just instantly subs Jung if it gets to the ground. Like, Jung is a really good black belt in his own right. You know what I mean? Like, the way he was able to control Frankie Edgar, the way he was able to control the other Brazilian guy and just knock him out. Like he's a real high level black belt. And like I said, I just think on the feet, even though I think it's close, I just feel like Jung's power is going to be the biggest difference. He's definitely got way more one-punch knockout power. And if their overall striking is about even, I think that's going to be the biggest thing, is when he's hitting Brian, he's going to be doing more damage. And I think he's eventually going to get the knockout. I think this will be fight of the night. I don't know how long it'll last, but I think it's going to be like the Max fight, where it might even get stopped in between rounds, just because when they're hitting each other, Jung's just going to be doing more damage, in my opinion. And that's going to be the big factor. So I've got Jung winning by knockout TKO in one of the later rounds, like 3 or 4. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.